If you've ever dealt with social anxiety, there's a good chance you've asked yourself how long it'll take to go away. Maybe it's because you've struggled with it for years, or that it's limited you so much in your life that you just can't take it anymore. Either way, you're looking for answers, and you deserve to hear the truth. As someone who's struggled with social anxiety for years, I understand how exhausting it is to suffer day in and day out, wondering if you'll be fighting for another month, another year, or the rest of your life. But over years of trial and error, I have come to understand why social anxiety lasts so long and what you can do to shorten its lifespan. In this video, I will go over with you why social anxiety lasts so long and what you can do to make its presence in your life easier to deal with. To start off, one of the main reasons social anxiety lasts for so long is because the threat response behind it is deeply buried into your subconscious mind. One of the greatest misconceptions people have about social anxiety is that the disorder is a rational-based fear. It's not, and nothing could be further from the truth. Social anxiety isn't built primarily on thoughts or cognitions. It's constructed over decades of negative social experiences that have been internalized into your subconscious mind. The way I like to imagine it is like throwing trash into a river. At first you throw one piece of trash in, and the river is still pretty clean. But then another piece goes in, and another. And over time, without you even really noticing, it starts to add up. Until one day the river isn't clean anymore, and you've damaged all of the water in the system. The damage to the water isn't because of one piece of trash. It's because the trash that's in there has festered and infected the whole supply. Your brain kind of works in a similar way. When something negative happens to you socially, whether it be a humiliating event or someone leaving you unread, and your brain internalizes that information as though you are the problem, you are essentially collecting a piece of trash. Over time, the more and more you experience something negative and you internalize that event negatively, the trash begins to fester inside of your mind, and it begins to create something known as a negative core belief. At this point, your brain begins to assume that people are threats and that you can't adequately handle yourself in social situations. In other words, social anxiety becomes the norm. This is exactly the reason why social anxiety lasts so long on a neurological level. Just like you can't clean up a polluted river overnight, you can't change the way your brain perceives things overnight either. But the good news for you is that you can overcome social anxiety using the same river analogy, but backwards. You have to clean out the river by taking out all of the trash or subconscious material you put in there. In future videos, I'll be talking about how I was able to do this and how you can too. So feel free to click the subscribe button below to get free updates on how you can overcome social anxiety and live a free life once again. The next reason social anxiety tends to last so long is because the threat response is abstract and complicated. Most people who don't have social anxiety believe that it's just an ordinary phobia, like a fear of spiders or snakes. But this isn't true at all, and this misconception beautifully illustrates why social anxiety lasts for such a long time to begin with. Imagine for a second you have two people. The first person has a fear of spiders. Every time he goes out into the world, he can pinpoint exactly what he is afraid of. He sees a spider, his brain sends off an alarm, and he knows exactly why he feels the way he does. The threat is clear, it's specific, and most importantly, it's avoidable. He can go his whole life steering clear of spiders and function just fine. Now imagine the second person, someone with social anxiety. He goes out into the world and his brain is sending off the same kind of alarm, but here's the difference. He can't point to one specific thing and say, that's what I'm afraid of. Is it the people, the judgment, the possibility of embarrassing himself? It's all of it and none of it at the same time. The threat feels everywhere and nowhere, and no matter where he goes, he can't avoid it because people are just everywhere. And this is what makes social anxiety last so long. The person with the spider phobia can clearly identify what it is they're afraid of. But for someone with social anxiety, it feels like they're fighting a fear they just don't fully understand. And this can make therapy extremely difficult to get through. Let's go back to our analogy before and think about the person with arachnophobia. Treatment for that is relatively straightforward. A therapist can sit down with him, identify the trigger, and gradually expose him to it until his brain learns that spiders aren't actually a threat. But now think about the person with social anxiety. If you were a therapist, where would you even begin? Unlike the spider phobia, there's no single thread that you can just pull on to unravel the whole thing. It's a web of interconnected fears, beliefs, and experiences that have been building for years. And unpacking all of that takes serious time. So on the whole, social anxiety lasts for so long because the fear behind it is very difficult to identify and understand. For people who suffer from it, it can feel like they are waking up every morning to an onslaught of irrational, anxiety-inducing thoughts that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This can make it very difficult to treat and overcome. The last reason that I'll be going over in this video for why social anxiety lasts so long is because it never fully goes away. Now, I know that might sound a little upsetting or defeating at first, but hear me out, because in reality, this is actually a very good thing. We get anxious in social situations to protect us from being hurt by other people and staying in the good graces of others. If our brain didn't have a little bit of social anxiety, then we likely wouldn't care at all about how we come across to other people. And that would cause a whole different set of problems. For example, let's say tomorrow morning you woke up and you didn't have any social anxiety. Well, this might sound like a dream come true. In the long run, it would end up creating a whole different set of problems. You'd say whatever came to mind without considering how it landed. You'd show up late and not think twice about it. You'd interrupt people, talk over them, make everything about yourself, and feel absolutely nothing about any of it. You'd say something hurtful to a friend and shrug it off like it was nothing. You'd walk into a job interview completely unprepared because why would it matter what they think of you? You'd burn bridges, push people away, and isolate yourself from everyone around you, completely unaware and completely unbothered by any of it. The underlying truth behind this story is that having some social anxiety is good for you. It's a sign that you care about maintaining and pursuing relationships with other people. The only problem, of course, is that this mechanism of caring about what other people think of you is just on overdrive right now and needs to be calmed down. So in social anxiety recovery, the goal isn't necessarily about getting rid of your anxiety completely. Although it sounds great, it isn't as beneficial as you might think. So how does this relate to social anxiety lasting long? Well, I'll tell you. The social anxiety recovery process is kind of like finding the right setting on a dial. On one end of that dial, you have zero social anxiety, and we just saw how that plays out. On the other end, you have crippling social anxiety, which is where a lot of you watching this are right now. And the goal is to land somewhere in the middle. Enough awareness to be considerate, thoughtful, and connected to the people around you, but not so much that it's running your life and holding you back from everything you want to do. And that's exactly what makes recovery take as long as it does. You're not just trying to flip a switch and turn something off. You're trying to find a balance that your brain has never really experienced before. You're essentially teaching yourself a whole new way of existing in social situations. Not fearless, but not paralyzed either. Just somewhere in the middle where life actually feels manageable. And that kind of balance doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a lot of trial and error. But the good news is, it's absolutely something that you can get to. I know that all of this might feel like a lot to take in, but here's what I want you to walk away with today. The reason social anxiety has lasted this long isn't because something is permanently wrong with you. It's because of the nature of what social anxiety actually is. And once you understand that, you can start approaching your recovery in a way that actually makes sense. If you want to go deeper on that idea, I actually made a video called Why Social Anxiety Feels Like Something is Wrong with You that I think you'll find really valuable. It goes into how social anxiety gets woven into your identity and what you can do to start separating yourself from it. So make sure you check that out after this. And if you're looking for something a little more practical, I also put together a video on the 7 best remote jobs for people with social anxiety. because sometimes the most important step in managing anxiety is putting yourself in an environment that actually works for you. Both videos are linked below. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time.